Today we're going to be talking about scientific notation. Once you have lesson 9, go ahead and write your name on the top, and then our objective for today, which says students will be able to write numbers in scientific notation. Remember that while you're watching this, you can pause it at any time if I'm moving too fast so that you're able to keep up with everything. Our objective today is that we are going to be able to write numbers in what is called scientific notation. Here it gives us a little background on what we're going to do. It says a positive finite decimal, that just means a decimal that doesn't go on forever, a decimal that ends, is written in scientific notation if it is expressed as a product of d times 10 to the something, n, where d is a finite decimal so that d is in between 1 and 10, and it's an integer. They just said a lot of stuff there. But that means that we're going to write something in scientific notation where it's going to be one number times 10 to the something that would still equal the original number that we started with. And in scientific notation, the exponent n is called the order of magnitude of the decimal d times 10 to the nth power. It just means n is what's determining how large or what the magnitude of this number is. So let's do a couple examples together. We start with exercise 1. I want to write 3,982 in scientific notation. But I know that I want to write it as d times 10 to the something. And d should be a smaller number than 3,982. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the decimal, we could imagine there's an invisible decimal right there, and move it right here, because we can have one number in front of the decimal point when we're using scientific notation. That would be 3.982. We're only ever going to have one number in front of the decimal point. Whatever's in front of here should be in between 0 and 10. Okay, 3.982 times 10 to the something. Well, let's see. I had to move my decimal place 1, 2, 3 times. So that means I'm going to write it as 10 to the third. So that means the number 3,982 can be written in scientific notation as 3.982 times 10 to the third. And we can totally check this. If I had a calculator, if I do 3.982 times, let's see, what is 10 to the third? 10 to the third is a 1 with 3 zeros, 1,000. So 3.982 times 1,000 equals 3,982. So we have 3,982 in scientific notation. All right, let's go ahead and try exercise 2. Again, we want our decimal point to be right here. So there's only one number to the left of that decimal point. To get it there, I had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces over. So I'm going to write this as 5.625,814 times 10. I moved it over 6 times to the 6th power. Again, I could check this on my calculator. I could do 5.625,814 times a 1 with 6 zeros behind it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Equals 5,625,814, which is what we started with. All right, here's the last example that we are going to do together. Here we've got our decimal point over here, but I don't want my decimal point right, or I don't want my number right by the decimal point to be a 0. Up here it says I want my decimal to be in between 1 and 10. So I'm actually going to move my decimal point this time to the right. Move it 1, 2, 3. I'm going to move it right here so it's 4.3 instead. Now we have a 4.3 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. I moved my decimal place 4 over, but since this time I moved it to the right, I'm going to call this 10 to the -4th. So when we start out with a decimal and we need to end up making this number bigger, we're going to be multiplying by a negative exponent. All right, so this is how you write in scientific notation. Remember, some key things to note when you're doing things in scientific notation. You always need to have one number in front of the decimal point, and it cannot be a 0. And it should not be anything bigger than 9. So anything 1 through 9 can be here. Then the decimal point, then some other decimals, times 10 to the something. That is proper scientific notation. All right, go ahead and finish the rest of lesson 9.